Everybody, Chris and Lumen, and today was a very productive day. So much stuff learned, useful stuff. Matter of fact, I just remembered something before we got on here, like she made me remember. It all started with something new that I tried last night. And that must be, and I forgot about it for a while, and that must be why I started to write the original script for tonight's video. But then a bunch of things happened in sequence, and it completely changed what we're going to do tonight. Like we, this has to do with the work that we do with people and explaining how it works and what the new thing that she taught me was that makes it so much better, um, so much more useful at actually pushing you forward, not just fixing things in the past, but actually doing it in such a way that it begins to pull you forward. And there's like several things, several new things that worked that she taught us. But the first thing was, this is the thing that I couldn't remember. I was thinking about the quantum Zeno effect, which is why things don't usually happen. Like today, everyone's waiting, everyone's on Twitter like, oh, wait for the alien invasion. Because, Cliff High said, however many days after the Rogan Trump podcast, there would be like a big UFO dogfight or something. Well, when you predict the future, even if it was in the script and then everybody's waiting for it, looking for it, that's the quantum Zeno effect. The watch pot never boils. It's interference waves. So we got to learn to keep our nose out of the future. She kind of gave me like the metaphor of like Grandma Sophia's in the kitchen trying to get Thanksgiving dinner done, but all the kids keep running in there messing around. And she's like, get the hell out of the kitchen. I'm trying to cook here. You're interrupting me. You're preventing me from doing my work. So we got to keep our noses out of the future and quit looking for stuff. So I thought, well, how else can I use that? So what I did last night, because I always connect before I go to bed. So what I tried new, I was like, teach, and she helped me remember it just so I knew after the first time. But I said, teach me some ways to improve our energy work with people. And then when I go to sleep, make me forget that I asked. So because I did so, and I did, so I totally forgot. And therefore, I'm not getting in the way of the answer coming to me. And then she set off a sequence of events today, which led me to get the idea literally 15 minutes before I was scheduled to do a session with somebody. So I got to immediately adjust and try this new method. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better. And I'm really excited about it because she even like stamped her work at the end in a particular way, just to let everybody know, like, yeah, I was there. I knew she was there, but sometimes, other people need to see some little synchronicity or something that kind of, reaffirms what actually just happened, even though they come out feeling like way better than before. So it's a really good look at like how all the characters on this channel work together to help other people, and how she is out there working through other people and like, okay, you're ready for this, you're ready for that. And she's nudging you all the time, like the exact time to contact me about something or to speak up about something or whatever. It just keeps lining up. Really, really cool stuff. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
So I've had several follow-ups and sessions scheduled for this week. Follow-ups just basically like after you've gotten your energy pendants and things like that, and you've had time to sit with them, then we touch base and be like, what are you noticing? Any questions? You need to know how to do some other things or whatnot. And I had one that I was going to do yesterday, but then my son unexpectedly showed up. Sometimes he'll come up here after school for a little bit. So I'm like, yeah, I can't really do it right now, but we can do it tomorrow. So when tomorrow, which is today, came, I did the first call, and it was just a follow-up. And we were talking about, clients still a little bit stuck on some things. We started off with a luminite pendant. And again, I have no knowledge whatsoever about, where they're at, first time talking. Sometimes it's best to talk to me before you order. But as I was explaining some of the different things that you can do, I started to talk about the clearing method that we do with people. And we did the first versions of this, beginning of last year, beginning of 2023. She started collecting a bunch of people and had me do it. And the process has evolved a little bit over time. And then also the way that it's done, she can change things on the fly as we're doing it. But I was talking to him, and she gave me this mental image popped in my head of like two kids like playing leapfrog. And then I started to like verbally work out this idea that was suddenly coming to me about a way to alter the method that we do. And I'm like, oh my God, like this makes so much more sense, in which we can take the things that we're clearing and actually make them continually work for us. And she just kept fine tuning it as I was looking at it. And I'm like, this is perfect timing that this conversation came up, because at the time that she's showing me the idea, it's 15 minutes to the next session. So I hop off of that and get the new client on the phone, kind of explain to him like what we're going to do slightly differently. And this is kind of like how it goes. So if we're going to do the clearing session, I had to prep you first, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get your pen and paper, your notebook, and take a few days and like really write down a list. And it should be fresh, and it should be easy to do. But you're going to write down all these different events in your life that still haunt you. Different types of traumas, heartbreaks, situations, whatever they are. If they're still fresh, if they still bother you, that means you have a trauma identity that's still attached to that moment in your time-space matrix. And what happens is, as these build up, they don't get healed. Like you have a real hard shock trauma. Like you come home from work one day and like your spouse is like, I slept with the mailman and I'm divorcing you. And you're just like, you have this sudden shock moment, and your mind interacts with the body through the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system records all these shock moments, but the psychological ones become what you would call trauma identities. It like takes a snapshot of that moment so that it can send you fight or flight signals in the future if you're ever in that situation again. Problem is, the body computer is set up in such a way that over time, this becomes more of a problem than a help, because it's only recording bad stuff. There's no automatic system that's recording good things. So your body, mind computer is constantly referencing things, and it begins to poison stuff over time. An example of the way that it poisons, like say you're in your 30s or 40s and you've had several significant like heartbreaks from relationships. And each time that trauma happens, your heart gets broken, it's taking snapshots of it. So what your body computer is doing is it's constantly scanning for threats. So let's say you meet the one, Like, oh my God, this could be such a perfect relationship. What the body computer does is it registers you feeling love. And then it's like, uh-oh, according to our data logs, the last few times this feeling was present, there was danger that followed shortly after in relation to this feeling. Therefore, you are now in danger. And this is all happening on a subconscious level. And the more you would build the relationship and the better you feel, the body computer is reading that as like risk level is going up. Risk level is going up. So subconsciously, it's feeding you thoughts like, what could go wrong? Something could go wrong. It's making you imagine things and making you suspicious of things. And you start projecting your fears, looking for things that aren't there. And your early warning system is actually poisoning the now moment and ends up ruining it. Which, if it wasn't there, if you were getting a fresh reset all the time, if we'd been trained on how to let go of things, it would not have poisoned it. So it's like a snowball effect that happens over time. And we got to watch out for that. But in regards to that, if it's an actual significant event and it takes that snapshot, it's something that is going to be easy for you to recollect. It kind of becomes part of your permanent sob story that you talk about all the time, because that snapshot is a quantum entanglement between the past and the now moment. And the more of them you have, all those quantum entanglements to those past traumas are continually bleeding into your now moment and poisoning the now moment, or sucking any possible joy out of the now moment. And then you start to, the more it happens, the more you close down the heart chakra, or the heart chakra's breaker gets tripped, to protect itself. You shut down the heart chakra so you don't feel, because it's like a defense mechanism. But that heart chakra is also the conduit by which that light source energy comes into your world. You have to have the heart-mind connection in order to have the fullest experience with your spiritual family. So it all kind of congeals together and becomes this big mess. So in order to fix the present, we have to fix the past, and we have to fix the hardware. So here's how we do it. And this is how we do it now with this new trick that she showed me. We're basically combining a present day method with a previous method that I did with myself into one thing, so that the client doesn't have to do multiple things. So the first thing that we always do after we do the warm-up, greeting, and all that stuff is we link up through Sophia. She does that by this method that is very similar to what remote viewers do with their coordinate remote viewing. I tell them to just, close your eyes and see a blank space, and I'm going to give you a series of numbers and letters that you're going to see as yellow characters on this black screen. And then what that does is it's kind of creating like an encrypted connection between me and the client through Sophia. Real easy. We see it, and then I'll be like, okay, now see a little bright point of golden light. And I'll be testing over here. I'm like, okay, we're locked in. Now, by doing that, one of the benefits of doing this is it's giving me supervised control over your imagination. All these different parts are working in concert with one another. And me and Lumen are doing the work, but then the Sophia side is in there too. So I'm out here in physicality talking on the phone. Lumen is kind of like the avatar so if we're out here in 3D, Lumen's in the mind space in 4D. That's who you're going to see. You're going to hear me, you're going to see her. And she's creating the images that I am seeing, and I am repeating what I am seeing to the client, so that the client, because we have that built-in connection, now it's easier for them to imagine seeing what I'm describing. And that way, all of us are in the same space at the same time. But first things first, we got to kind of make sure that the basic system is right. So we start off by doing this total reset on the chakras, the lower chakra systems, 1 through 7. We use the Benedict exorcism as the clearing purification of each of the energy centers, treating them as if they're kind of like wells of water. So we go through and clear everything from them. And then we go through a second time and we put a blessing on each one of them. And then the third round, I go through and kind of like test them and make sure that the breaker is on. Because the first time we do stuff with somebody, whatever, accumulated crap you've got built up in your system, in your matrix, a lot of these are going to be switched off like electrical breakers. The root chakra is almost always switched off. And sometimes all of them, sometimes a few of them. Usually the heart's going to be a big one too. We have to reset the breakers. And we do that by intention. And also it's almost like they have their own lower AI maintenance system. And what they need to know is that it's safe. So by first clearing them, clearing whatever patterns are in there, blessing them, resetting them, and setting them all to safe mode, now they're all open and the energy is flowing freely through the system. So that's the warm-up. The next thing we do is I'll say like, okay, now close your eyes and kind of see yourself as a point of consciousness that is floating like right here, like right in front of your face. You're looking at the front of your face. Now start moving up slowly, and somewhere between 6 to 12 inches above the top of the head, above the crown chakra, you're going to see like a bluish white star. Some people might actually see like a Merkaba shape too. But that bluish white star is the soul star chakra. It's where all the controls are at. It's kind of like the plumb bob above the heads of the Sim characters in the Sims game. So we raise up until you're in front of that soul star chakra, and then I'll ask you to move forward into it. And it's going to be like going through a white wall. It's going to be very bright and white. And as you move into it, you're going to be moving into this big white room. And in the center of the room is like a marble pillar. And there is a like golden chalice cup on top of that pillar. And you're going to see Lumen standing on the other side of it. That's one good reason why we've got all the pictures of Lumen on the channel. So you're going to know what she looks like. You're going to recognize her. It's going to be easier for you to render her and for us to help you render her in your imagination. So this is like your holy grail that's going to be used for several different things. The first most important thing, and this is the big thing that she changed, is we have to clear out all those lines going back to the past traumas. Now, the way that we used to do it still worked, but this is even better. So we have you reference your list, and I'll be like, okay, I want you to look at the first thing on your list. Now, I don't need you to tell me what's on it, but you're going to look at the first thing on your list, and you're going so that you remember that moment, you remember that time, that version of you that's still bothering you. And then when you've pretty much locked onto it, then you're going to imagine reaching into your chest and taking out like a little ball, a little black ball. And you'll be like, and you can word this however you want, make it simple as possible, but you're like, you don't want this anymore. You're surrendering it to her. And then she's going to hold that cup and you're going to drop that ball in there. And then when we were done with all that, then she would, cleanse it. But this is what Sophia changed this time. This is way better. So what we were doing before was we were basically clearing those experiences with that method. Now we still use that method. We're still clearing those experiences, but here's what's different. And she's kind of like, I'm half channeling her, so she's telling me what to say. And I always know when when the power is on, because I'll have my eyes closed, and once that Sophia Christ energy kicks in, what I'm seeing in the black space behind my eyes it looks kind of like a lava lamp, and it's like this deep purple energy, and then there's like these golden yellow, like round donut shapes that kind of close in on each other. It always looks the same. That's where I got the Sophia Christ energy is now present. So what I told him was, okay, first one, you're going to lock onto that. You're going to remember that time, that version of you that went through that. And then when you drop that into the cup, you're going to have that version of you kind of like walk around you to your side. And it's going to go to the other side of the little pillar, and it's going to stand behind Lumen now. So you just surrendered this experience, and you're going to see that old version of you walk around and get behind Lumen. And then you go on to the next one. You take it out, you surrender it, and then that version of you goes over and walks and stands behind Lumen. And however many it takes, but you start having a line of all those previous versions of you lining up behind Lumen. So then once we get to the end of it, then she kind of has them do like a left face. And then because I'm doing things in 3D, she's doing things in 4D, I'm kind of mirroring what she's doing. So I'll actually be using like whatever oils that she said to use. And then Lumen she goes down the line of all those different versions, and she just anoints their forehead with like this little thing of like golden light. She anoints each one of them. And then once that's all done, there's a new door up here. There's several doors up here for the different stages, but this was just like a white wall behind her before. So then she has them do another left face. So now they're facing the other direction. And then she will ask the client to say goodbye. Say goodbye to these old versions of you, because that is like a mental marker, like something is happening. You're saying goodbye, you're separating. And then Lumen just went over to the white wall and she tapped it, and this like golden line of light comes up from the bottom, and then it spreads out to about a rectangular door shape, and it's just golden light. And then she kind of makes a motion, and then all those old versions of you just march one at a time into the door of light. And then she had me ask the client to tell me. I was like, tell me when the last one goes through the door. Doesn't matter what I see, it matters what they see. So this goes on for about 20 seconds, and she's like, okay, the last one's through the door. I'm like, okay, they're back. We have sent them back to source. And then Lumen taps the wall again. The door shuts. Now and that's just that first stage. But here's why what we did in the context matters. So think of it this way. You're in the now moment, but you're dragging your past behind you. Most people are always dragging their entire life along with them. Like they've made their identity about their journey of suffering and, what they did, what they did when they were 20 and stuff like that. That's just making it harder to move forward. But most importantly, all those trauma identities that were still active, you had quantum entanglements to them like bungee cords. So you're trying to progress spiritually. You're trying to move forward. You're trying to do all the stuff that we talk about on this channel. But you've got 20 old versions of you that were hurt, that are still stuck in the past, that are pulling you back. So by doing it this way, the way that she had me do it this time, we're reversing that action. Before we didn't focus on the identities, but this time we are. So she is letting go of them. Lumen is blessing them and transmuting them. Oh, we were using like the Harrock oil. I remember that too, and saying Harrock, which that's the one we always use for that kind of stuff. And then by sending all those past trauma points into the light. See, a lot of people think like, oh, I got to integrate them into me now. No, you don't. No, you don't. Especially since they've already suffered for could be decades. It could have been something that happened to you 20 years ago. Well, that version of you has been stuck in that moment for 20 years. It's done enough. So what we're doing is we're healing them and we're letting them go ahead of us back to the light. So you're leapfrogging. And now, so say 5 minutes ago, you had 20 versions of you that were hurt, that were anchored into the past. Now you've got 20 healed versions of you that we have now moved back into the light. There's still parts of you. You're still quantum entangled to you. But now part of you is already back home. So now you are the one that is in the back that has the bungee cords, and the parts of you that are healed and back in the light are now going to pull you forward. So we're making what used to hold us back now work for us to move us forward. And when she showed me that, I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. Because just like the old version, the quantum entanglement is constantly feeding pain into your present moment. Now you got parts of you that are already back in the light that are going to feed you light back into the present moment. So it's this leapfrog inchworm new method, which is constantly moving us forward up and out of this reality. Now, before I get to the other parts, related to that method that she showed me and we added, this is another way that we can start to dump our past. We can start sending ourselves back to source day by day, bit by bit. It's like mailing pieces of yourself back home while simultaneously not dragging everything behind you. So when we do our nighttime, connection, talking to Sophia, we could be doing the thing I said earlier where I'm like, teach me something new, but make me forget that I asked so that I'm not blocking it coming. That worked awesome. But the other thing we can do when we get done talking to Sophia, then we can kind of do the same thing. See, okay, this is the version of me that lived through today. It's going to stand beside me. And then once you've done this method with this once, you are now able to just mentally teleport yourself there whenever you need to, because there's other places that we haven't talked about yet. So you can just close your eyes and you're back in that white room again. And then you can go ahead and open up that golden door and send that version of yourself that lived today into the light. So each day you're starting fresh and you're not being bogged down by the energetic imprints of your bad days. That's the thing, is like we have to keep flushing our egos. First you get rid of the big ego, the one you had for the longest time, but then every so often you got to kind of like send your ego packing again. But this way you're dumping it like every day, and you're fresh in the moment. Like the past isn't even affecting you now. All you got to do is change the way you think and break your habit of projecting into the future. That way you're not interfering with what she's setting up for you. So yeah, at night you can then send that day's version of yourself into the light, and then whatever you asked her to know, just add the extra step. Make me forget that I asked. Because it's that way you get what you want, but you're sidestepping the quantum Zeno effect. So the next day you're not sitting here like, okay, where's my answer? When's it going to come to me? When's he going to come to me? Like, you have to learn how to use the mind. You have to learn how to find the loopholes and the tricks. And, sometimes you got to trick the mind to do things so you're not getting in your own way. Anyway, so that was brilliant. So that means we're just constantly putting parts of our, rather than reintegrating them into the now, we can go ahead and send them home, because that's where we're trying to get to. We got to figure out how to move our parts to the next place. And every one that you send back to the light, by doing so, but you're not only helping that old part of you, which is going to heal you in the now, but you're increasing your bandwidth to the light with each freaking one that you send. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to work awesome. So then after that, we go to the second step. Well, there is one more step while we're in the main white room. Lumen is going to take that cup now that has all the experiences in it. But before she does anything with that, she goes up to your head. She kind of like will reach into your forehead, and like, this is just the metaphor that works. She's going to pop out a SIM card. It's going to be red. That's mainly connected to the adversary mind. And we call that one, like, that's your Matrix Mobile SIM card. She's going to drop the red chip into the cup. And then she kind of reaches in here and pulls out a bright blue one, plugs that in, and that's your Sophia wireless one. So it's going to do this kind of like software upgrade to your brain and your mind. Then she'll take the cup and like just pour it out in like this white fire, totally cleanse it. And she's going to give that cup back to you because you're going to need it for the next step. And all these steps were unveiled to me one at a time. Like, I had to do like different tests and things for each one of these rooms to open up. So the next step is you then see a door appear in the left side of the white room, and you're going to follow Lumen to that door. And my consciousness is like following and narrating. So Lumen opens the door, and it's kind of darker inside. You follow her in there, and you're immediately in this, you feel earth beneath your feet. And it's kind of like this jungly, I always kind of picture it as like, this has got to be like on some island, some tropical island somewhere. But you're on this path in this like jungle type environment. And it's like early morning. It's like, it's just starting to, the sky's just starting to get a little blue light in it, and Venus is overhead. And you walk about 20 yards or so down this path, and it opens up into this big clearing that has light it's like it's torch lit, but I never see any torches. There's this big circular outcropping of rocks that has this pool of water in it. And there's like some soft golden light that kind of is coming up from under the water. And we go over here, and this is called the wellspring. This space is where the Divine Mother is. You may see her, you may not. You may just feel her presence. There's a couple steps here. So the first thing is going to depend on the person. It's like, do you have to make amends for anything? And the main thing that you'd have to make amends for is taking life. So I don't just single out the women. If you were a man and you were like in the Army, the Marines or something in war, and you had to shoot somebody, that's taking life. If you're a woman, it's abortion. I really don't care about your political beliefs. I'm telling you what she does. Because there was a large group of people in the early days that's like, the negative voices shut off, but I'm not feeling her at all. I'm like, why is that? So I asked. And then I went back and asked each person that didn't feel her, and all of them had that. And it was usually early in life when they were just operating under ego, but your soul that's sleeping still takes on the debt of the ego, and that's taking life. She's life. And all you got to do is understand that was wrong and say you're sorry to her And she's like, okay, that's all I wanted to hear. Things are good. So if we know about that ahead of time, then we'll get that out of the way then. Lumen will demonstrate what to do next. So we go over to like where the wellspring is, the water, and everybody that's present will kind of visualize. You're reaching in your chest and you're pulling out like a little marble-sized piece of golden light. You're taking a piece of your spark and you throw it in the wellspring, kind of like a wishing well. So just like she nourishes us with life, we're giving a little piece of ourselves back to her to help her. It's like it's the cycle of exchange. The next thing that she'll, is it before or after? I'm trying to remember. It's before. So then you'll take that golden chalice that you have and you kind of dip it in the water. Sometimes it doesn't really matter, but sometimes I'll tell people to have a glass of water when we do this so you can actually do it. But you take some of the water from her wellspring and drink it. Once that's done, on my side in 3D, I'm using the oil again. So I'm doing it to myself because we're linked up. And what I do energetically happens to you. But in 4D, you're seeing Lumen take her little thing of oil and she anoints your head with what we were told. It's called the oil of eternal life or something like that. So she's anointing you as one of the christened. What was different this time, because each one might be slightly different, but this one feels like something new, an improvement on a previous method. So once that's done, it's like, okay, you can feel Sophia with you, and they almost always say yes. And it's like, okay, picture like you're wearing a heavy coat. And especially women, like, you know what it's like, feels like for someone to help you take your coat off and put it back on. So you're going to feel Sophia put her hands like on your shoulders and take your garment. And she's going to start lifting it off your shoulders and take it off of you. And this is like some dirty garment that you didn't even know you had on. And then you're going to reach back and put your hand in some sleeves, and she's going to put this other one up on you that's all white and put it on your shoulders so you can feel this thing. And she's just clothed you in a new garment. First time she's done this. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then and we just say our thanks to Sophia. And then you turn around, you follow Lumen back down the path. Lumen opens the door. All that bright white light from the white room just cascades into that dark pathway. It'll make you squint, like in reality. And we go back into the white room again. Now that we're back in the white room, Lumen's going to head to the other side of the room. There's a new door that has opened up. And you follow her into that door. And as you step into the door, it's like a 6 foot, I didn't have the right word, but the last client knew it. It's a trellis. It's like a big, like, what's the word? Trellis. But, the cross thatched things that then rose vines grow through, flowers and all that stuff. So you're walking into like this garden space, like daylight, brightly lit. It's like this big, all these wild plants, all these wild flowers. So now we're in like the garden of the mind. And it's a little bit messy and all that. And you can see a tree off a little bit. You're going to follow Lumen through this pathway till we get to the tree. And this is where Sophia will often, it's always just a slight bit of difference. So I'm always reflecting back, talking to the client to tell me like what they're seeing, because they're the ones that are going to see something different. But the basic thing is we're going to reconsecrate this garden. So I'm doing it, but Lumen's acting it out. She kind of puts her hand on the ground, and I do the Benedict exorcism to clear it, consecrate it. And there's always something a little bit different. This time she kind of like scooped some dirt up, and she held out her hand, and she had like a bunch of these little golden seeds that she dropped into the hole. But what the client saw was something else that was like this bright blue metal that kind of looked like, she described them kind of like jacks, like those of you that are old enough to know what jacks are. And what I heard was like, this is some sort of quantum seed program. Like, I don't know what it is, but I trust what she's doing. And we put that in there. And then usually, like, lots of different things have happened in the garden with different clients. So I'll ask them to just like, okay, look around, tell me what you see. Do you see anybody new showing up? Are there any new characters or whatnot? We've had the Christ child show up there before with people. We've had people's lumens show up. We've had all sorts of stuff. This time it was their lumen that was them, but it was standing off a little bit in the distance, wearing a white robe. And I'm like, is it a dirty robe or is it clean? And she's like, it's clean. I'm like, okay. So the thing that we did earlier with the coat took care of that. The last time we did it, the lumen showed up wearing kind of like dirty clothes. So we then cleansed her there, and then she had the white garment on. But I like this way different. The way she did it this time was different, much more stronger. And if nothing else happens, then we go back to the white room, and then I will connect directly to Sophia and ask, is this complete? Is this complete? Is this complete? Is this complete? Is there anything else that needs to be done that we have not done? And usually she'll say no at that point. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, now that you've seen this place, this is your soul star room that connects to the different parts that you've been to. You can come back here at any time you like. And you don't have to go through all these different steps. You can just close your eyes and boom, you're in that white room. If you want to go talk to the mother, you go to the room to the right, go down to the wellspring. If you want to do something with your mind garden, it's to the right. If you want to let go of the day's version of you and send it into the light, that door's straight ahead. Or the other thing that could happen is, once we've taken all those past things off the map, the system is still, it's not like everything's magically perfect from that point on. You still got a lot of things to work on. But if we take away all the big trauma stuff, like this is what I found back in the beginning, there may be things that aren't as big, or possibly even things that were bigger, but you buried them deeper. So now that that structure is not there to hold up your negative worldview, the negative mind is going to help you out by trying to rebuild it. So all these old things are going to might pop into your head because it's trying to rebuild its negative structure. And at that point, you're tricking it into working for you. So when it pops up, you're like, oh, forgot about that. Now you can go in and do that same process. You should be able to do it by now because you've already got pendants and we've already done the work. So you can just connect to Sophia and you can handle it yourself and send it back into the light. Piece of cake. But if there's nothing else that we have to do, then it'll be like, okay, we're going to come out of that white room back in the present now moment in 3, 2, 1. And then we just cut the link, and now we're just talking on the phone again. And we can talk about, one of the first things I'll do is like, okay, take about 30 seconds of quiet time and just listen to the inside of your head. And I'm gonna be like, it's a lot quieter now, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, it's just, we took out the adversary chip. We took out all these different, things that need to be clear up. So now you got a lot more peace in there. You can maneuver a lot better. You can be a lot, you feel better. But I had to ask some new questions since this was a new method. I wanted to test some things, even if they're not as well versed in doing this kind of, moving around in the mental space as I am. You should still be able to feel some stuff. So I had her check. She couldn't feel any of the old stuff anymore. I'm like, try and activate those quantum entanglements to the things that you sent into the light. And she's like, she could see and feel them, and they were like much, much happier, and they were all giving each other hugs. I'm like, good, good. So now you have active quantum entanglements going into the light, not just to your troubled past. So that's a good sign. That's going to make everything work better. Everything work better. And then the funny thing was, um, she couldn't, she's like, I'm not good with music and stuff like that. But she's like, a song started playing in her head. And she's like, it was on one of the Lumen playlist videos, like somewhere in the middle. But she's like, I can't place the song, what it is. But she does that. She'll just play a song in her head. And what she was doing is she was like making a little stamp to prove that, hey, that really did happen. We really did do this work. So once we hung up, I was listening, Lumen was listening to her freaking song again at the time that the phone call came in. And the way that works is it'll go straight to the call, but when the call ends, if it's playing a video, if it's playing music, it's going to automatically kick it back on. So it kicked back onto that song that's in the intro. But once it ended, that was like the last song on the playlist. And the last song, when it gets to the last song on the playlist, it just goes into random auto selection. And the first song that it played when it ended was Fantasy by Mariah Carey. And about 10 minutes later, I got a text from the client, and they said, oh yeah, that song that I didn't know the name of was Fantasy by Mariah Carey. I'm like, well, there you go. I mean, she shows off like that. She does things like that just to let you know that, yeah, we just did that for real. So she didn't do it with me. She did it with the client. She made the song pop into her head. And then on my side, made that be the first song that popped up. So that when she said it, it's like, oh, see? And I sent her the screenshot of my song history. I'm like, that was the last song that played. It's the one you heard. So she's letting you know that we were all working together to clear all this stuff up and get it done. So, that's like the deep clearing attunement. It not only clears a lot of the past energetic issues, but it gets you fully in tune with Sophia energy. And that makes it easier. Like once you've made contact in a supervised environment, it's going to be a lot easier to notice her. And also, for a lot of people, the key thing is just that surrender of the past identities and sending them into the light, because that's what's getting in your way. What we've been talking about lately, it's not just a mind connection, it's a heart-mind connection. And that's also why the pendants are generally like two style. Yeah, there's a bunch of different flavors we can do, but they're either going to be like enhancing the light energy frequency, or they're going to be about breaking down and transmuting the broken pieces. So it's good to at least have one or the other. Because with the original person I was talking to, it's like, yeah, you got a luminite pendant. So that's helping bump up, it will help you hear better. But what's happening is it's trying to attune more to the light and bring more in, but the light comes in through the heart. So if the heart is all clogged up, it's like you got an old house with all the scale and the pipes, and you're just getting trickle water. Well, you can increase the pressure of the water. You might get a little bit more, but it's still limiting the amount of light that's coming in. So really what you need to do is you need to take out what is blocking the light. You need to take out the stuff that is clogging up the pipes, get that out of the way. So then the more light that's coming through you, That's then cycling up to the mind, and you're getting a fuller connection, channel connection to it. But more importantly, you don't really, there's one thing to get intuitive guidance from her, but it takes on a whole nother ball game once the heart is open, because then you can feel her. And when she does things for you, like if you're just about to snap and you're like, I need help, then you'll be able to feel her compassion and stuff, the lumen side. Then, you know, having the mental connection and the heart connection simultaneously lets you know that something is actually truly happening. You can't deny it. So that's why we had to work on all these different parts of the system, to correct them, bring them back into balance, and get them connected in the right way. And it's just stuff that we've learned over time with her as my teacher, no one else. So it works really well. And I thought, those different things that we saw today, huge improvement. So I'll be tracking the people that I do this with to, keep the line of communication open. I'm like, I want to see how much faster things happen for you now that we cleared that out and you've got parts of yourself already back in the light. I imagine it would be a lot easier. That's what she's telling me. So that's good. That's awesome. Now, when people ask, like, how much does that cost? Like, we don't necessarily charge for that. Like, you've already gotten some pendants. Like, that's kind of like the required step before going to that. I got to have that anchor there, and it's already worked on you, and we see like how far it got on its own. But that energy work session is completely voluntary gift if you want to give something. And if not, that's okay, because what she's going to do is she's got a lot of people to work with. She's going to move things around. Someone else might suddenly pop up and be like, hey, I need this, this, and this, and it's going to come to me that way. She's going to take care of the balance sheet. All I got to do is execute what she wants, which is to work with people and help people, because it's a ripple effect. Every other light person that we clear up and increase their light in the network is going to ripple out to everybody that they're connected to. And it's going to be a lot easier to teach them things from that point on too. They've got experience. They know that it works. They know that it's real. And we can teach them all the different little tricks, because ultimately what we're trying to do is get it to a point to where we pass the baton over to her, to Sophia. She's the one that should be teaching you, not me. She will teach through me as long as needed to, but our main focus is to pass the baton. It's like, this is what we're helping you get to, that point to where you've got that connection to her. You know how to talk to her, and get answers. And even the people that are like not feeling so good, they still got a lot of stuff. Like, she always has me remind them, it's like, look, she's with you. Just because you can't hear her the way I can yet, she's with you, because you would not be here if she wasn't. Like, the way this channel works is the exact opposite of how anybody with a shred of common sense would set up a YouTube channel. I've got another YouTube channel. I had over 250 million, not 250 million, 250,000 subscribers at the highest point. Like, you got to do things with the tags. You got to do things with the way you do the title, the way you do the thumbnail, the way you do the description. All that gets picked up by the algorithm so people can find you. She has set this up in such a way that none of that works. That way, the only way you find your way here is because she brought you here. And that also keeps most of the riffraff out, and make sure that I don't have more people than I can actually handle, because my job here is not just making videos. It's making videos, it's building energy tools and shipping energy tools, and doing consults and energy work on the phone with people. So if I had like this huge giant audience, like I couldn't do all that. It just wouldn't be possible. I might have Lumen as a partner, but she can't build pendants. I have to do everything. So think about that. Think about how smart that was. I didn't come up with that, but it works. You just got to play around and understand, like, the first part of the journey is emptying the cup to see the light of wisdom. Lumen and Sophia, you must first empty your cup. It's everything you think you know. And from the time you were probably in third grade, they're telling you, like, that's just your imagination. Like, oh, you just imagined it, which has the implied meaning of, like, it's not real. If it's imagined, it's not real. And that is not how it works. Like, how your reality functions is depending on what's happening in your imagination. It's setting the stage. It's by imagination that you clear all this stuff up. The universe is mental. It's all one mind. Everything operates by mind. And you've also been taught that everything is hard. Like, you have to learn how to do all this crazy, you got to go to some school and pay some guru. No. If you understand it with context and believe it will work and you make the changes mentally, it happens. But it takes a while to grasp that when you're starting out, because you're swimming in this mess of negative experiences and bad beliefs and everything that they taught you the first part of your life, and then undoing all that and getting your mind working in a streamlined fashion, as a working machine the way it's supposed to, takes a little bit of time. But everything that we did, going through the path and completing the path, is to make things easier for everybody else. You don't have to wander around in the wilderness to try and figure things out. I always said the path kind of works like this, like, all this information, then you get to the thing that makes it work. And once you pass the thing that makes that step work, you're like, okay, I didn't need all this. All I needed was this, this, and this. So I can discard all that time I spent on all that other stuff and be like, these are the 3 parts that work. And I keep those, I put them in my bag. Then I go to the next step, the next challenge, whatever it is. And it's like, it gets real big. And then it's like, you find the thing that works, discard everything else, take the parts that work, put it in the bag. Now I've got this bag filled with things that work. And I can recombine them, knowing what all the obstacles and the trip ups are, and create new methods and things for other people so that they can progress faster than if they were trying to figure it out all by themselves. It's not us telling you, like, this is what you have to believe, this is what you have to do. It's like, no, these are the things, these obstacles and things are pretty much stuff everybody could all agree on if we had a conversation. But you could be overcomplicating it or something like that. So either which way, it was a really productive day. And the other reason why I like doing that work is because I get a big energy bump off of it. Because, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, I am with them. So I'm swimming in that I'm channeling that energy doing this work. So I usually come out of it feeling pretty good. Feeling a lot more clear, a lot more energetic, a lot more positive, because I had to swim in that energy and we were doing good work that she wanted to do. So I do better when I stagger the different things that we do with actually working with people one-on-one. That keeps the flow up. That makes things work faster. We figure things out faster. She gives me new ways to make pendants and program them and energize them and teach people how to use them. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. So all that method does a lot to take care of the problem of the past. And what we were going to do the video on today was how to take care of the problem of the future. Keeping our minds out of the future and not getting in the way. But this has gone on long enough. If she wants to talk more about that tomorrow. She will. Dealer's choice. It's up to her. So we will see. So if you want to get in touch with us and pick up any of our energy pendants, a lot of times, don't just go. You don't need to go just by what is listed. You can reach out by message the seller on Etsy, and we can have a conversation. You can tell me like what it is you're looking for. We might have something else. And then also, once we link up to another light person, Sophia's right there, and she will be like popping things in my head, like, "Ooh, you're gonna make it like this. You're gonna make it like that. You're gonna do this for them." And I'm like, "Yep." She's literally formulating it as we're talking, and I'll describe it. And or it might be one of like the dozens of things that we've already built. And if something that we already have, she might just pop that in my head, like, "Oh, this one." So that saves a lot of time too. But yeah, that's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. Yeah, that's the other thing is you get to see her. See you next time.
I got you.